The Ric Flair Show.
My name's Ric Flair.
Woo! Woo! To be the man, you gotta beat the man. And I'm saying, woo! Right here, I'm the man.
The 16-time world champion.
Back behind the mic and telling it like it is.
Woo!
If you're not carrying the big gold, you're second best no matter what you tell yourself. I'm the best. Y'all playing catch-up ball to the nature boy.
And now, your hosts of The Ric Flair Show, Ric Flair and Conrad Thompson.
Woo!
Kane,
What's going on, buddy?
what the hell's up, buddy?
Oh, nothing much, man. I'm still dealing with the after effects of Hurricane Matthew up here.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Did you get hit by it too?
Yeah, it's funny. I was down in Orlando when it hit. Nothing happened down there. You know, I was doing the TNA thing. Nothing happened down there. But about 16 trees around my house came down. So I've been doing tractor duty for the last couple of days.
Oh, wow. Well, thanks for coming on the show today, man. Conrad, you've met Conrad before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Have you ever been to Conrad's for a night out?
No, we met at the NWA Legends Fan Fest in Charlotte, where he does a phenomenal job the last few years there.
Yeah, well, he always does a phenomenal job. So, Hurricane, well, Conrad, you got a bunch of questions for him. I was wondering if we might try something different today.
Sure.
Why don't we, I think it'd be pretty cool to get Hurricane's comments on it. Why don't we do the 4 things that we open up the show with before our guest and do them with Hurricane?
I'm down to do whatever you like.
Does that sound cool?
Sure.
And get his opinion and my opinion?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that at all.
Hurricane, I'll let Conrad explain to you what we do.
Well, yeah, I mean, the concept is...
I listen to the show, I know.
There you go.
Well, that's the answer. Of course you listen to it. I should have known that. Hell.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. All right, go start it out, Conrad.
Well, all right, let's get into it. It's the Figure 4 Top Stories of the Week, sponsored, of course, by the RicFlairShow.com's merchandise tab. Get all your new gear. It's the Space Mountain tee that made TV. Come on, get you some of that right now at RicFlairShow.com and click the merchandise tab right at the top of the page. Let's get into it this week, Rick. We've got, I don't know, maybe something to talk about after Monday night. Michael Cole stands in the middle of the ring and calls Goldberg the greatest WCW champion ever. Your thoughts?
Well, you know something? I told you I was going to open up on this one, but I can't. You know that. So I'll let it go with this. I got 10 texts. My phone was blowing up. I can't take that out of my pocket. It was blowing up all night long. So I know that he respects me, and I know that we're good friends, and I know that he's just getting paid to say that. So I'm not worried about it. How about you, Hurricane? You can pop off, man.
Yeah, you know, I like political Rick there. So you're running for president, so you're starting off being very diplomatic. So I like that. I probably think the same thing that you think, and everybody that texts you think. You know, it was the hype machine. You know, it wouldn't have sounded as good if they said the second greatest WCW champion of all time. You know, everybody knows that the greatest WCW NWA champion of all time is Ric Flair. So they were doing the hype machine, which is what you do. This business is based.
Oh, I know. Hey, I know.
know.
It's funny. I didn't hear it, and so when my phone started going off, I went, "What the hell?" And all of a sudden, I mean, I'm getting texted from like Michael Strahan's agent. So, you know, sometimes you got to think about what you say. But I think that I will say this: I thought Bill's reception was huge. And I'm happy for him. Well, they blew the roof off there in Denver. And it's great. I know the feeling to come back when you've been away for a while. So, but I still feel sorry for him having to wrestle Brock Lesnar. I don't care what kind of shape you got yourself in, brother. That's a lot to take on after 12 years out of the ring. God.
You know what, dude? That was probably his best promo that I think I've ever heard him do, too.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, I saw all that. I thought
really,
that was great. I just missed Michael Cole's spot.
Yeah.
Well, top story number 2 was all about Bill Goldberg. He actually popped a rating for the company, and he made the comment towards the end of the promo that not only was Brock Lesnar next, he was last, and it seems as if they're at least teasing that this will be his retirement match, his last match. Maybe the appetite is different after the promo and the reception that he got on Monday night, but what do you think about this, Rick? The match is going to take place in Toronto. Lesnar is technically a Canadian citizen now. Goldberg is kind of notorious for an incident he had with Bret Hart in WCW that ultimately led to the end of Bret Hart's career, and he is the favored son of Toronto. What type of reception do you expect him to get in Toronto for Survivor Series?
Well, the thing of it is that Brock is, Brock has got this, not only is he a phenomenal athlete, but he's got this tweener thing going too. I mean, the wrestling fans love Lesnar, okay? And I don't think that, even though Bill got a tremendous reception, that not necessarily means that Brock isn't going to get a reception too. Does that make sense?
Right.
I think definitely that Bill will be received a little better, but I don't even know if fans remember that stuff with Bret and with Bill, but it may play out, and they may have Bret out there next week, saying you better get the revenge for me or something. I don't know what they're going to do, but it's pretty cool, and that's a great wrestling market. Boy, Toronto they love wrestling up there, and since their hockey hasn't been doing all that well, sorry guys, I have to give those guys a shot. But I think the crowd will be huge, and they'll be really well received.
Shane, what do you think about Toronto, and what type of response do you expect? And if it goes sideways, how hard is that as a performer to overcome?
It's something you should always be prepared for. In this day and age, back in the day, the baby faces got cheered, the heels got booed, and that was always the way it is. But that changed about 15, 20 years ago. Especially, you go to, Canada, they used to call that Bizarro Land, because you go up there and the heels with the baby faces all of a sudden, and you just got to be able to roll with it. It'd be interesting if they did a story where Bret Hart took Bill Goldberg to the dungeon so he could train MMA for Brock. Maybe that would make fans forget about the Bret Hart thing. I don't know if Bret would be up for it, but I think Brock would get probably a better reaction. Like Rick said, even when Brock tries to be heel, it's this day and age, man, people love badasses this day and age. I can't boo him when he's out there just beating the hell out of somebody, because it's awesome. So it might be split, but I kind of think fans might go for Brock a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say the same thing. It's just, you can not like Brock for one reason or another, but you can't never disrespect Brock for anything, you know what I mean? And he's legit, and that's all there is to it. And I repeat, I'm glad Bill got that reception, but after the 17th German suplex, I don't know. Good Lord.
Yeah, that might be why it's his last match.
Yeah, my God. I know I had two too many, or I had about 5 too many. Holy cow, like people even believe that, right? Me against Brock Lesnar in the Garden. Thank you.
I was working with Brock on a house show one time. And Michael Hayes was I said I was working with Brock on a house show one time.
Yeah.
And I know I get to the back, and Michael Hayes is like, I don't know if I just threw a shitty punch that night or what. My punches were never bad, but Michael Hayes goes out there and he's like, Hurricane, you got to lay them punches in. And I go, you don't hit that big ass. He's going to hit me back.
Easier said than done.
Yeah, the thing was, I think I was hitting him. He's just 300 pounds of a man, and he wouldn't budge, So
yeah. No, I can see it like that too.
Well, coming up next in top story number 3, Mick Foley posts on social media throughout the week that the main event for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view next weekend from Boston will be Sasha Banks defending her women's championship against Charlotte. Rick, Charlotte has said in many interviews that her goal in wrestling was to main event a pay-per-view. Is this really going to happen? Do you think that she's finally going to achieve this and really only 18 months into her career on the main roster?
I think that's what I've heard is going to happen, and I want to tell you something that I'm sure I don't think even Hurricane knows this. I have never, in my entire run with WWF in the 90s or WWE in the 2000s, I have never main evented a pay-per-view, and I've never been in a Hell in a Cell match.
Well, I hate to correct the Nature Boy, but this week in history, which we'll get to later in the show, you did main event a Taboo Tuesday against Randy Orton in a cage, but that was in 2004. And
that was in Milwaukee, and it lasted 6 minutes. That's hardly a main event. Jesus.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I'm trying to forget that. It was 6 minutes long. Christ. Taboo. Only you could remember that. Taboo.
Well, I mean, I did some research for This Week in History, and it seemed like, hey, this is the Nature Boy's last WWE pay-per-view main event. This is a big deal, and it's kind of ironic that your last main event on the roster is in a cage match, and now your daughter's first main event on a pay-per-view is going to be in a cage as well. What do you expect from this match, and are the expectations for a Hell in a Cell so high at this point? Is it going to be something that can't help but be a disappointment just based on what the expectations are?
Well, I'm glad you both are on the phone. I got to ask you, I obviously have been there and seen it. How high is the ceiling on Hell in a Cell? In other words, it can actually stand on the top rope and still do like a moonsault in the ring or with a cage prevent that.
She could do that.
She could
do that, yeah.
Because it's up that high, right?
Yeah, it's high enough for her to do a moonsault inside for sure.
Yeah, okay. I see. I think that they're so innovative, and the fact that they've had, some really phenomenal matches. I think they're come up with something that'll be more than acceptable. There's no blood for anybody, so which is taking a lot of it away from what I used to do for a living, and what Hurricane grew up on. Dusty and I couldn't even have a cage match without that. I mean, I had Eddie Graham had me wrestle Butch Reed one time in a cage match in Orlando where we couldn't use the cage as a weapon. Please, I mean, give me a break. So obviously, I just took press slams and ran away from Butch all night long. But it's hard for anybody. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't put together something, and they probably won't even tell the company what they're going to do. But I can tell you this: if they're put in that position, they both have enough pride in themselves that they will. And I can tell you right now, they're feeling the pressure because I hear about it. You probably have too, Conrad, because I know you talk to her a lot. But hey. I think they're ready for it, and I don't see anybody on that card that could have a better match than them if their chemistry is on, like it always is.
How many of the matches are in the Hell in a Cell?
I think there's going to be 3 this year, and I'm not sure that they're done adding matches to the cell, but I believe that there will be 3 this time. The biggest of which, though, and this is kind of a big deal, they're on the cover, they're on the poster, but Roman Reigns and Rusev will be in a cell, and I believe that Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins will be in a cell. So you've got 3 title matches on the show that will be in the cell: the Universal title, the U.S. title, and then the Ladies Championship, or the Women's Championship. Hurricane, you've been around the cell. What type of pressure does this add as a performer, and is this something that you're for, or is this just so dangerous that, guys just dread it and you really don't really want to do it?
It's a little bit of both. It's one of those situations that you want to be in, and then when you're in them, you're like, what the hell am I going to do now?
Right.
Rick can tell you like anything. There's a big pressure about being that last match. You got to follow everybody, and I mean, with the couple matches, especially that Rollins Owens match, you know, they're going to go out there and really light it up. So if Charlotte and Sasha are going to follow that, they're going to have to, you know, bring out their A game. They definitely are capable of doing that. I mean, based on some of the matches we've seen on TV, I mean, they're capable. I just, you know, because, you know, I know Charlotte well, and, you know obviously Rick, and, you know, I'm going to be worried about somebody I know personally's health when they're climbing up that cage and, you know, jumping off and all that crazy stuff that tends to happen in those matches. So it's really a catch-22, because as a fan, I want to be entertained, but at the same time, when it's somebody you know personally, I always have a fear that, you know, one of my friends is going to go out there and get hurt, you know,
right.
in a situation like that. So, but, you know, knowing her competitive spirit, which she got some pops there, she's going to go out there and leave it all out on the line. So I think it's going to be good either way.
Yeah, and I agree with Hurricane. I mean, Seth and
Owens.
Kevin Owens will tear it down. They have, you know, Seth is phenomenal. Kevin Owens is tremendous, and I think Rusev and Roman will have a good match too. You know, I've also heard that because Foley tweeted that out, that they might switch the order around because it was supposed to be a surprise. So, you know, it may not come to fruition that they are on last. But regardless, they're the first two women to ever be in one. It's a hell of an honor, and that thing in that banner that's in Titan Tower right now says it all. I mean, it's phenomenal, and you know, it's when you're that's a lot. Hell in a Cell, you was a feature match, and I think ever since WrestleMania in Dallas, the girls have put themselves in a position to be on a main event any given night, whether it be on Raw, SmackDown, or at a pay-per-view.
Let's get to top story.
What's going to be tough, too, is for guys that have, you know, quote-unquote regular matches in between these Hell in a Cell. Unless they do all the Hell in a Cells back to back. Because when you got to follow a crazy gimmick match like that, and you got to go out there and, you know, work a body part or something, sometimes that could be pretty tough. You know, when you follow a stunt show and then you got to have a wrestling match. So it'll be interesting to see the matches that pop off in between the Hell in a Cells.
You guys have put together cards. That brings a good question up. You know, as far as the pacing of a show and where you kind of put match placement like this, what would be the suggestion? Is it to try to go more comedy? Is it to try to, I mean, what do you do to kind of get them, you know, after the fans get on such a high and then you've got to bring them down a little bit and then you want to bring them back up? What's the psychology as far as match placement, Rick, about where you might try to space these Hell in a Cell matches out?
Well, I don't have the whole card in front of me, so I'd have to have that to give you an accurate or give my thoughts, you know, based on what I saw the whole card is. But you know, if the girls are on last, I would think they'd open with one Hell in a Cell, put one in the middle and one at the end. I don't think they'll run all three of them consecutively. But there again, I don't know, because without seeing the whole card and what they're lined up, you know, I've been at places sometimes where you, like I was at NXT the night before SummerSlam, and the match with help me out, Hurricane, the guy that is at NXT now, that was
Nakamura.
Huh?
You're saying Nakamura and Sami Zayn? They had a big match.
No, not them. The kid that wears the sunglasses.
Oh, Bobby Roode.
No, a kid, a little bit angled, a little bit of gimmick like mine.
Austin Aries.
Austin Aries wrestled somebody there that night. First match, I was sitting in the crowd because Hunter wanted me to sit in the crowd, you know, to be part of the show. And brother, they tore it down. I mean, that was the first match, and I don't think anything followed it that night.
Was that not No Way Jose? Is that what he wrestled, No Way Jose?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's what it was, yeah. And but they tore it down. I mean, I'm not to say other matches didn't follow it, but the crowd reaction was deafening for Aries and his other kid. So, and it's amazing because other than the network, they don't get the national TV exposure. But those kids down there are over, and man, and when they get in these big venues, I mean, they had as many people there for NXT as I had for SummerSlam the next day. It's unreal. So the product is over, and it's a great credit to the developmental system, to Hunter and those guys that have put that deal together. But I was amazed at the crowd reaction. I mean, when I walk out and those guys are getting a bigger pop than me, we got a problem. Yeah, I had to walk out with the lights out. Okay, guys.
Well, you got a big pop in top story number 4. You shook up ESPN, man. The sports world was on its ear. The Nature Boy was behind the desk for ESPN's College Game Day program. It took place this past Saturday. They were in Madison, Wisconsin for the Ohio State game. Nate, what was your experience like? I know what a big ESPN nut you are. Anybody who knows you in real life knows that from the minute you wake up till you go to bed, you were plopped down in front of ESPN, and now you got to be a part of the program. Had to be a bucket list thing for you.
Ain't no doubt about it. When they called me, the first guy I called was who? You. Because you're the same way. You got ESPN in your office. I mean, I love it, and I've known those guys. I mean, they treated me with such respect. I've known Kirk for a long time, and, of course, I know Desmond Howard. I hadn't met Reese Davis. He's awesome. And Coach Corso, man, what a gentleman. I mean, they treated me, with so much I mean, it's hard to explain. It's a special place to know that your cross-demographic appeal is entertaining people, and they played back the Sergio Brown stuff and all my stuff from the 80s, and so it was really cool, the alligator thing, keeping the alligators down and all that. So it was fun, and they treated me with so much respect, and I was so honored to be there. I hope they bring me in for the Ohio State, Michigan one. I'm plugging for it already. So anyway, they were going to have me down there. I recommended you for Game Day in Tuscaloosa, Conrad.
Well, I thought you did a phenomenal job with your picks. You were the only guy to pick North Carolina over Miami, and you were accurate. So kudos.
Well, you know
to
what? First of all, you were calling me a kiss ass for doing that. You know why I did it? Because one week they play great, the next week they play terrible, and this was their week to play great. You know what I mean? I also took they beat Miami. They beat Miami, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So, and Miami didn't look that great the week before against Florida State. So, and I just think that like any given week in that conference, whereas in the SEC, I mean it's just tough. Alabama 19-point favorite over A&M, and A&M is 6-0. So it's amazing. But that conference right now is better than it's been, and they've got some pretty decent teams. I mean, I didn't get to pick that, but I was going to take North Carolina State to give Clemson the game. And they should have won the game.
Yeah.
They gave it away. So in that conference, you never know. I think that Carolina's program it's not where it was when Lawrence Taylor was there, but it's gotten better. So I'm happy for them, but not because I'm a big North Carolina fan. I'm a Michigan fan. And I'm waiting for the day that Michigan kicks the crap out of Alabama. I hope for the national championship this year.
That's not going to happen. That's
Jesus. Okay.
That's a nice thought, though. Hurricane, did you catch the Naitch on Game Day this Saturday?
No, I didn't. I wish I would have known he was on there. I would have watched it just for him, though.
That's a great question, Rick. Why didn't you guys announce it beforehand? It was kind of a super.
They wanted to be. I wasn't supposed to tell anybody. And you're the only person I told. I mean, I told my children, but nobody else. I just wanted to keep it on a DL. And for the most part, nobody saw me. A couple kids saw me, but once they start wooing, you can't stop. But I really, I can't stand Ohio State, and I was there. I mean, I remember when Woody Hayes tripped the kid from Clemson running down the sidelines. They've had their problems, but it was a great game, and man, Wisconsin damn near beat them. If they had, I'd be a hero. So anyway, it was a lot of fun, and anytime you get to be in a position like that, and showing that much respect, the time when wrestlers couldn't get respect, period. Now we get mainstream respect, and it was a great honor for me to be there.
Well, you did some more mainstream stuff. We only do 4 stories, but we're going to go a little overtime here. I need to know what's going on, man. The Ric Flair show is a day late, and it's because you were campaigning throughout the ATL yesterday with your running mate in your presidential bid. Waka Flock of Flame, what in the hell is going on with Flair Flame?
Well, the thing of it is that we were scheduled to be in Las Vegas last night, but they canceled us at the last minute.
So are you announcing your candidacy here officially? Holly Berry a few weeks ago, and now Waka Flocka, and you are running for president and vice president. What in the world is going on?
Well, I think Waka Flock and I have as good a chance as anybody else. Did you watch that debate last night? I don't know who's going anywhere. God darn. A lot of issues, but, he's a great guy, and we had fun doing that, and, it lightens things up, and I think it creates a good atmosphere. I mean, it's making people laugh. It certainly has gotten a lot of attention. I got on my page over 2 million views already, so it's insanity. So the funny thing is, the New York Post out that Bud Light was actually sponsoring us, so that got some eyebrows raised, but. We just had a good time, and this guy that Cam Fordham, who you work with, Conrad, put that together, and it was pretty cool. How about those 2 chicks, man? Wow, they are both doctors too. Isn't that funny? Jeez.
Well, check it out if you haven't already. It's FlairFlame2016.com, and it's running wild on the internet right now. It's going viral, and if you're not familiar with Waka Flock of Flame. May I suggest Waka the Tank Engine? It's one of my top 100 favorite things on the internet. It's a mashup with Thomas the Tank and Waka Flock of Flame in one of his songs. It's hilarious. This is a good time. Check it out. Flair Flame 2016. So stay tuned. It's the Ric Flair Show right here on MLW Radio.
If you want to be the man, you got to beat the man. Woo!
Don't miss a minute of the Ric Flair Show. Subscribe on iTunes now.
In Ric Flair, who you're looking at, the man. Woo!
Woo! The Ric Flair Show.
With an erection that is so rigid, you can strike matches on it.
You know, by now it's probably pretty obvious when you listen to this show that I am not a professional broadcaster. But I do claim to know a thing or two about helping people save money, and that's what we do at First Family Mortgage. We show families how to keep more of their own money. We find more and more that families don't really understand what the end of their loan looks like. Of course, everybody knows exactly what day their payment's due on and how much to make it for, and maybe they even know their interest rate. But they probably don't know what the end looks like. How old are you going to be when you pay your house off? How old are your kids going to be? Does that line up with what your retirement plans are? Will your kids get stuck with student loans because you couldn't afford to pay college tuition and a house payment? You shouldn't have to choose. You should get a better mortgage. First Family can go ahead and get you a better deal right now at onefmc.com. We can help you get a lower payment. We can shorten your term. We can get rid of your PMI, get you a better rate, even help you get rid of your credit card debt. No matter what your situation is, First Family can make it just a little bit better, and you don't need perfect credit or money out of your pocket to check it out. So go to onefmc.com right now and find out how much money you can save for free. NMLS number 65084, Equal Housing Lender.
This week on MLWRadio.com, get the latest news and analysis on the network's flagship podcast each and every Tuesday night, MLW Radio, as yours truly, Court Bauer, along with Mr. St. Laurent, talk TNA bound for bankruptcy, Goldberg's return, Matt Seidel's New Japan gig going up in smoke, WWE, and a ton more. Then, journey back in time as wrestling historian Matt Farmer looks at Memphis wrestling, including Andy Kaufman, Vince McMahon's early 1990s invasion of Memphis, and the USWA on an all-new History in the Making podcast that's out now. Finish out the week with a triple header. Wake up with Mr. St. Laurent and the Taskmaster, Kevin Sullivan, as they talk the latest news in the business, WCW, Starrcade 96, and more on MSL and Sullivan. Then learn all the inner workings of TNA on this week's Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard. Round out the Friday trifecta with Bauer and Pollock as the Fight Network's John Pollock and I go in-depth on the business of professional wrestling with the latest news and analysis, plus much more. The world of MLW Radio never stops. Go to MLWRadio.com right now, that's MLWRadio.com, and binge on pro wrestling talk from the experts. Do it.
Now back to more Ric Flair Show. we're doing something a little different today. We've got Hurricane on for the top stories, and now we're just going to talk a little wrestling and some background. And Shane, I know you grew up in the Carolinas, so I imagine you were a big fan of Jim Crockett Promotions and Ric Flair, and I'm just curious about what your earliest or favorite memories of wrestling as a kid were. And then how honored you are to be on our last show, because Ric Flair sounds like Doc Holliday. And
yeah, I'm having to move to Phoenix. I've had this cold for a week, man. It's brutal. Go ahead. I'm better today, though.
Man, growing up, that Mid-Atlantic, still to this day, I think that, that 80s Mid-Atlantic wrestling was the best, era of wrestling that I've ever seen as a fan. So I couldn't ask for a better education as far as somebody growing up that's wanting to become wanting to become a performer in professional wrestling and growing up watching that stuff. The true honors came later when I actually got to be in the ring with Rick and stuff like that, I remember the first time I was going to do anything with Rick was on a pay-per-view, and I had to run down the ramp and get him. Kane was working Triple H, and me and Kane were tag team partners. And I was just like, that was about as nervous as I think I'd ever been before or since in my entire career. Like, I never really had a problem with nerves at all. But, like, when it'd be like a kid playing Michael Jordan, at a game, I was like, oh, my gosh, Ric Flair. Like, I didn't care about anybody in the arena. I didn't care about who was in the match. I was just focused on Ric Flair, and I had to run down and punch him. And I think I built up a lot of speed down that ramp and actually potatoed the shit out of him. And then I felt terrible about that.
Hey, I'll tell you one thing. You didn't potato me by any means, and I loved it. But they made the mistake of putting me and Hurricane on early on Raw one night, brother. There was nothing left. Correct, Hurricane?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't remember what town that was, but we were early on in the show.
That was Philly.
Huh?
That was Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Philadelphia.
Where I was a legitimate heel and he was a big-time big man. We tore it down, man. And nothing gives you more, nothing makes me feel better than to know when, you're expected to go out there and just pull your end off. But when the crowd reacted like that, because Hurricane, man, can work his ass off, make no mistake about it. And, at that point I was older, but I could still hang in there with him. So we tore it down, and it's one of my memories. we laughed about it forever. But I think we ended up wrestling 3 or 4 times, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And then, we went off in different directions. But he's a very entertaining. That gimmick was the best. I think the best remembrance of his outfit was Ashley was 17 years old, and she committed to a college, and I took her to Ireland, and she was wearing Hurricanes. I let her go out with the kids that night. She was so excited. And the next morning, they had pictures of Ashley wearing Hurricanes outfit, jumping on the bed, running down the hall. Nice. Jeez. But Hurricane's the kind of guy that we have, when you become friends with a guy like Hurricane, it's a lifelong deal. And at least once every 2 weeks, I'll get a text. He'll send a picture, memory. And I guess you sent me the one from our trip overseas, and I happened to get it the day before. You sent it to Lita as well. And that was a hell of a trip. Hurricane and I, man, I mean, we've had some fun, but, man, that when they sent us overseas to see the troops, and we got to Djibouti, I mean, you had to be there, because you're going to call Hurricane and I liars, but we're going to do this under oath on the show today. Those guys party down big time, man. There's only about 100 chicks and 2,000 guys over there, but and they have hangars over there where they keep the jets and all that they turn into discos at night. I swear to God. Tell them, Hurricane. It was unreal.
Yeah, that was the Special Forces guys. Like, the Special Forces kind of have a base inside.
It's in Djibouti, South Africa.
Yep. Djibouti's north.
It is?
It's up near Eastern, around that area. But it's kind of a base within the base, and the regular troops, not regular, I don't want to say regular like that's the meaning, but with the ones that aren't Special Forces, they only get like 2 beers a night or something like that. And so they have their little canteen type thing where they're all hanging out. And then they got to, go to bed at a certain time. But the Special Forces guys, they can do kind of whatever they want. So they came and whispered in our ears, like, when y'all ready, when y'all get done with this, come on down here. And all the troops were marking out huge for Rick. And so we kind of, and the Special Forces guys were like, y'all can come, but you can't bring all these other dudes, in no uncertain words. This is exactly what they were saying, And so I came up with this plan where Rick would distract the troops, and I took all the girls to the Special Forces base. And then, that way...
He stole my girl. What he's trying to say is he stole my girl. There was this smoking hot Black Hawk helicopter pilot chick that was wearing her dog tags and a what do they call those things? A wife beater. Sweating like 130 degrees, right? It's like a chick you see. It looked like Bo Derek running down the beach, right? I mean, it was that good, right, Hurricane?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. And you left me with the boys, and you took off with her. Nice. Story of my life with you.
She went over strong later on that night.
Of course she did. Hey, another great story about Hurricane and I. So I invited Hurricane to one of my weddings. One of them. The one that was in the Grand Cayman. And so he got his girlfriend with him, and he lands in Miami, and she didn't have her passport. He left her in the airport and just came to the wedding without her. Which also worked out for him. Yeah, he's loyal, man. When he said he's coming to him, or he's coming.
She didn't know you needed a passport. And I was like, we're going to the Grand Cayman Islands. Actually, we didn't make it to Miami. I had to leave her in Raleigh. But I did buy her a ticket back to, her home state. But on the way to the airport, I flew down to North Carolina. We were hanging out. And going to the airport, I just kind of like, hold up. And I was like, I feeling around in like my little briefcase. I was like, I just need to make sure I got my passport. And she goes, we need a passport? And I go, yeah, we're going to the Grand Cayman Islands. Well, I didn't know you needed a passport. I'm like, it's an island. Other than Hawaii, America's not really known for its islands. Long Island, I guess. But anyway, so long story short, we get to the airport. She flies back home. I go to the Grand Cayman.
Yeah. And he never returned.
That's amazing.
Hey, that was okay. You had fun over there, didn't you?
I had a great time.
God.
I did it for my country.
Jesus.
Hurricane, you told me a story in North Carolina that I think needs to be retold if it can. You and Rick going through customs?
Was this on that overseas tour?
Yes.
Yeah.
You talking about when they took all the wine?
Yeah. I don't even know how you got in the airport in the first place. Like, I go through TSA. They take my cologne. I think I had like a 5-hour energy shot. When they took that, like, I couldn't get through with anything. Rick comes through with like a case of wine on a hand cart. I still don't even know how the hell did that shit. I was like, look, that's the chance right there. That's when you the nature boy. He's got a whole case of wine. They took my cologne.
Well, I had to make sure we had something to drink over there in Qatar, or wherever it is. Then they took it all away from us when we landed there. Anyway, it was a whole case of David Bruce.
The line of the day we will not beat is, he had a case of wine, they took my cologne.
Yeah. That's the difference between being over and not right there.
I don't know about that.
I didn't have my mask on. I didn't have nothing. They said, I don't know who you are. Get the hell out of here. Oh, Rick, come on. Come right through.
Rick, have you ever been to any ballets with Hurricane?
I have not.
Oh, come on.
No, Hurricane was at Hunter's bachelor party, right, Hurricane?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on
Hey, tell
SmackDown,
Conrad, can I throw a bachelor party or what, huh?
Yeah. I have no doubt that you know what you're doing there.
Oh, that thing was tremendous. Wasn't that was a ball, huh? 65 girls. What?
That was in Raleigh, so outside my hometown, and I was on SmackDown, and we were filming like in Charlotte somewhere. I don't know where we were filming at. But
well, you were Raleigh that night, but the show went long because Kurt Angle was late getting there to wrestle Lesnar, remember? Because Kurt's brother had been sick.
Yeah, I left the SmackDown show as soon as it was over and went and met you guys.
Yeah, but you guys were, SmackDown was in, because Raw was in Columbia and all the guys stayed over. We surprised Hunter and we drove up to Raleigh. And then as soon as you guys got done, because it was a surprise for him. So, but Vince came and man, it was tremendous. Yeah. All I can remember in the limo riding out to the airport with Vince and Shane and Hunter and everybody. 5 a.m. in the morning, they were getting on the plane, and Hunter had to go to a wine tasting at noon for the wedding in New York. He doesn't drink anyway, but he could hardly walk, man. It was a great time. I think I got his dad finger painted that night.
I think I got finger printed that night.
Probably. Oh, God. Yeah, I don't do good in those places, man. I'm having a hard time keeping these clothes on.
That's a story for another time, I'm sure. Hurricane, a lot of guys don't know, or a lot of younger fans listening to this podcast may not know that you're one of the few guys who's been everywhere. I mean, you were in WCW, you were in the WWE, and now you're in TNA. Can you kind of tell everybody about how the foray in the WCW got going? How did you first get signed with WCW, and what was your experience like there?
Well, I had done the Indies for about 8.5 years before I got signed in WCW, so I put in a lot of work, and Indies were a lot more difficult back then, and it was a lot harder to get noticed. We had to send out VHS, and half the time you didn't know if they even watched them or anything. You would send out a VHS tape and a black and white 8x10, and hope for the best. But me and a couple kids, you'll know a few of them, Shannon Moore, Joey Mercury, who I think is still an agent with WWE, or he does something there, and another guy named Christian York. We were doing this gimmick in Nashville called the Bad Street Boys. It was one of Burt Prentice's ideas. It wasn't nothing that we came up with, but it was a babyface thing, and it was making us a little bit of money out there. So that was good. And we just knew, we'd heard anyway that, Vince and WCW got their tapes because they were a good little TV product at the time. The Nashville thing was. And so anyway, me and Shannon ended up sending tapes to WCW, and basically they brought me in for a trial match, and I kind of got hired off my trial match. The first one I did was the night after Owen died, so Bischoff wasn't there. So Bischoff never saw the first one, so I just went home and was kind of, I didn't know, I was in limbo there. I was kind of I was a little down in the dumps because I always had the confidence that once they see me, they'll like me. And I think you have to have that confidence to make it in this business, and if you're not confident, they'll see through you. So I just felt like, once they saw me, but I didn't know that Bischoff wasn't there. I didn't know the whole story behind everything. Of course, that was a crazy time with, the Owen thing affected a lot of people in WCW as well. So a couple of days later, I get a call, and they're filming in Houston, and they're going to fly me down for a trial match, which I thought was odd. Normally they just use local guys for trial matches, but as Rick would tell you, WCW would kind of spend money needlessly, recklessly. So I didn't think too much about it. I was just happy for the opportunity. So I get down there, and it's me, and they're going to put me and Shannon Moore in a dark match trial match with two guys. Blitzkrieg was one, Kaz Hayashi was the other. Kaz Hayashi's, incredibly talented guy, and worked really well with us. And we were going over, and which was another odd thing. You got these two kids that are not under contract going over to contract the guys in the dark match. Like, I never saw that happen too much in WCW or WWE. So that was definitely odd. And after the match, I walked to the curtain, and they basically offered me a 3-year deal right there. So it sounds pretty easy saying it, but you got to take into account the 8.5 years that I killed myself to get to the point where I was ready. And so when I tell kids about going to do these dark matches and tryout matches and stuff, it's like, be ready when you go there, because that first impression is very significant. You know, they were looking for American cruiserweights, and so it was really a matter of timing for me. You know, but I'd worked really hard to get to that point, and it was just perfect timing.
And a phenomenal run. You wrapped up with the WWE in 2010, and then last year started working some with TNA. And I don't know that everybody listening keeps up with TNA, but they should. I'd like to plug it really, really hard here. This broken Matt Hardy stuff has really rejuvenated my interest in TNA, and if you haven't checked it out, you need to. It's been awesome, and I kind of want you, I know you're friends with the Hardys and involved in all of that. Can you kind of share everybody, catch everybody up to speed on the greatness that is this wonderful Matt Hardy angle that has really set the internet on fire?
It's just, sometimes you got to let the guys be themselves. As an agent, which is what I do in TNA now, there's going to be some talent that kind of need to be guided, maybe even a few that need to be coddled, and taken step by step through some things. But there's some guys you just got to let them do what they do, and that's been the biggest pleasure of working with Matt and Jeff. I trust those guys, and they're crazy. Everybody thought I was the crazy one for all these years. No, Matt is insane as hell, and just having fun, with just doing a character thing, and I haven't seen nobody just totally reinvent themselves the way that he has, not in recent memory anyway. And it's real funny because, I was this amateur wrestler, at 22 gold medals in North Carolina. I wanted to be Ric Flair. I wanted to be like, Randy Savage, later on at Kurt Angle. That was what I wanted to be. But my claim to fame is putting on a cape and a mask and being this goofy-ass character. So, talking with Matt about it, this is actually his best body of work right now, especially promo-wise and especially just character-wise. He's always been a good in-ring performer and a good wrestler, but who he is now, putting it all together, this is actually the best work of his career.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. It's been very entertaining, start to finish, and they've got a really big special coming up towards the end of the year, Total Nonstop Deletion. If you haven't been paying attention, you should. Hurricane, kind of plug to everybody where they can catch the show and where they need to start tuning in to all things Broken Matt Hardy.
Pop TV is the channel, Thursday night, 8 o'clock, and I know it's on DirecTV. I don't know if all systems have it. I know they're a big affiliate with, a lot of different networks. So they're looking for that viewership to grow. It kind of reminds me, Rick, you'll get this analogy, a metaphor. It reminds me of the Superstation back in the day, because I didn't know what the Superstation was until I found out that wrestling was on it. And then the Superstation became my favorite channel of all time. That 6:05 on Saturday nights, I had to watch that every Saturday. So it's kind of what Pop TV reminds me of. It's a lot better than the Destination America channel we were on, which should have been called Destination Unknown, because I could never find it then. So, that's like every match should have been announced from Parts Unknown while we were on that channel.
Well, TNA has been in the news this week. Is there anything that you can comment on? I know there's lots of stuff that you may read about Billy Corgan or, the state or, different lawsuits. As a performer, and someone who is working, heavily with the company, is this something that you pay attention to, or is this all just behind the scenes stuff and it doesn't really affect what you need to be focused on? Or can you kind of carry us through your thought process for all that?
It's pretty hard to ignore. It's like the male guy in a porno. I don't watch it for him, but it's hard to ignore that he's there. You know what I mean? I can't let it affect my focus. It's very reminiscent of what we were going through in the last couple months of WCW. And Rick, I'm sure, could tell you how nerve-wracking that was. You just hear different things and you never know. And there's certain things that the people in charge can't tell you, because when you're doing business deals, there's certain information that just is private and can't really be out. And, they're waiting until deals get done and say anything. And so I remember in WCW, I just I can't let this affect me. I can only control what I do in that ring. That's the only thing I could control back then. And so that's kind of the same focus I have now. Like my area of where I work is the in-ring product. I'm not in any business deal, so it's important, but I can't let it, affect what I do. I mean, it's like a football team. If you're a kicker, you don't really need to worry about what the quarterback's doing. You need to worry about kicking that ball. So I need to worry about my position and play my position as best I can, and hopefully everything will work out for the best. It's still a great product. It has nowhere near the brand power that WWE has, Monday Night Raw especially. But that's Vince is the man for a reason. He didn't win all these wars because he's not good at what he does. So we can't even worry about that. We just got to keep continuing doing what they do, And what they've done, the changes they made since I've been there, and I'm not saying they're all because of me, but the changes that have been there, like the in-ring product right now, is really strong, and it's a really good show. Doesn't have the production value of WWE, but I think most shows on TV don't have the production value of WWE. There's a reason the NFL jacks a lot of their ideas. There's a reason that the UFC jacks a lot of the WWE ideas. They got that promotion and production down to a science, and they're really good at that. So it's kind of hard to compete with that dollar, So we can only focus on what we do, and that's where I am. But I will say, too, the last TV we were there was days before all the WWE rumors came out heavy.
Right.
They bought the library. They bought this. And, Rick, were you there in Panama when Shane McMahon walked in the room in the talent meeting?
Yeah, I was there. As a matter of fact, I had to wrestle Sting. And I argued about it, and so did Sting all night long. So you're talking about the last night, correct?
Yeah, I know you were at the show, but were you in that talent meeting that we had?
Oh, yeah, because Jerry Briscoe was there, too.
Yeah,
talking about when they first came in and started up telling everybody what we're going to do, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that sure was, yeah.
I thought that was going to happen again at the last TNA taping because all the WWE rumors came out that couple of days before we went down there, and we were having another talent meeting, and I was like, I'm the only one there that was at WCW in that talent meeting.
Right.
So
yeah.
Shane McMahon walks in here again.
Yeah.
If he walks in here, if he does it to me twice, but I couldn't be hot because it worked out really well for me last time. So it might work out really well for me again. But I kind of hope TNA still does their own thing. I think having different products out there is better for the business overall. I've always been a fan of wrestling, regardless of what three letters come before the wrestling. So
right.
I hope they continue to survive. And as long as they put out a good product, I'm all for it,
Hurricane, I didn't know that you were an agent down there. And I'm not by any means. I hope if this doesn't sound right, we won't air it. But I'm sure that they would consider you for that same job at WWE if you ever elected to do that, because they can't get enough good guys. It's a much more taxing. It's an exhausting job for the agents, because of the travel and the amount of TV they produce. But if you ever get tired of TNA, and I'm sure that they would consider you in a heartbeat.
I sure love hearing that. I kind of heard rumors mentioned here and there once, word got out what I was doing. And I got to be honest, I love it a lot more than I thought I was. Because I saw what some of the agents.
Well, you love the business. That's the key to it. To be successful in that capacity, you have to love the business, and you have to be very patient. I could never be an agent.
It's difficult. I have a little bit of an advantage in that one of the things with agents in WWE, they were great at what they did. But some of them, like if you were a heel, you wanted Arn Anderson as your agent.
Right.
But if you're a tape and mask babyface, Steamboat would be the guy you wanted as your agent.
Yeah.
Each one of his agents that they were great at what they did. I kind of had a weird career where I kind of did a little bit of everything. So there's not many scenarios that are going to come my way that I haven't done. So I've been really fortunate with my career that experience has taught me a lot, and about working with top guys and working with guys that aren't over, because when you work with somebody that over, as you well know, it's a little bit different than when you're working with somebody that the crowd doesn't give a shit about. So there's a lot of little things that, my career has blessed me with that I'm able to pass on to some of the guys there. And it's been really fun. And I mean, the way they've taken to me has been really a blessing. And a big honor for me too.
Well, that's great. Hey, Hurricane, I want just to, and it's tough for you to talk about because it's a phenomenal story. I know that everybody knows a little bit about it, but the recovery period and that horrible accident you were in. I mean, I happened to see a Hurricane about 3 days after it happened. You sent me a picture, remember? And oh my God, are you fully recovered now? I mean, I've just seen you in the last month, and you look like you're fully recovered. Any problems at all, health wise?
I think I hide it pretty well. My left ankle's fused in place pretty much. So
I know, yeah.
There ain't going to be any sprints. Like if I had to race Usain Bolt right now, I would come in second. So I'll take that as a win. I'm gonna take that as a win. But
if what did he say?
He said if he had to race Bolt, he would come in second, which is the line of the day.
Yeah, no, that's great. Hey, listen, he's hilarious. Don't think Hurricane isn't witty, man. It's funny because we had this fundraiser for him in Charlotte that we all went out to, and man, even then, and that was like 3 or 4 months after the accident, you were still on crutches, and oh man, it was terrible, Conrad. And I didn't know that you'd ever be able to walk again. You know, were you always assured of the fact that you'd get back to normal?
No, not at all. I mean, they almost had to take the foot off, so it was that bad. My doctor said it looked like a bag of smashed potato chips. And I was like, I said, how many breaks would you get? He said, I wouldn't even begin to count. And
yeah, you know what happened, Conrad? If he hadn't pushed his girlfriend off, and his first thought process was to protect her.
Right.
If they hadn't pushed her off, it would have decapitated her. Am I saying that right? And
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I pulled her like on top of me. Like if you go to wreck on a bike, you talk to jump off the bike. Don't hold on to it. You want to aim for grass and you want to jump off the bike. The bike lands on you. That's before it swings by and hits you. That's where most of the damage comes. But I reached back and grabbed Karen, and as I was trying to jump off, I just couldn't grab her. I didn't have enough strength to jump far away from the bike. And so she kind of landed on my chest, and the bike landed on my left foot, and that's why I smashed it to pieces. So, I mean, but keep in mind, I have to say this with all humility and honesty, it was my fault the accident happened. So, I might have had this last act of being a hero to save her, but it should have never happened anyway if I wasn't being a jackass that particular day. So, it was my fault. It's something I live with every day, because this foot hurt every day. But I'm alive, and, out of that, I was laid up for a while. And that's when Karen got pregnant.
Yeah.
All I could do was eat and do it for my country. And so I did it for my country quite a bit. She's pregnant. And I got a little baby boy out of the deal. So, maybe things happen for a reason. I don't know. Physically, like I said, I'm not going to be running any sprints, but mentally, I'm in a much better place.
It's absolutely, it's a dream story come true because, Hurricane and Matt and Jeff they had as much fun probably on a quieter stage or a quieter format, but they raised just as much hell as Ric Flair ever did. Make no mistake. And now they're all pre-married. Hell, I mean, Jeff can't get away from Beth. That ain't going to happen. I mean, it's a joke. I go, Beth's at every damn signing. In the old days, Matt and Jeff would go out all night long. I mean, like we all haven't done that together, Hurricane. Are you kidding me? On those European tours. But now, man, and Matt's all settled down too. So, and here I am finally. I'm with Wendy 4.5 years, and I have never been happier in my life. It just, you find the right person, things come together, and we've all had to grow up a little bit. I refuse to totally grow up, but I can at least tell you guys I am.
I told my Karen, I said, I'll grow old with you. I can't promise I'll grow up.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Tiffany said to me. You ever going to grow up? I don't know. Why? What? Why? What do you want? Yeah. Get a job, then ask me if I'm going to grow up, okay?
Oh, my gosh. Well, Hurricane, we appreciate you taking the time today. If you're not following Shane on Twitter, what are you doing? Go ahead and jump on there right now. It's at Shane Helms com. That's at Shane Helms com. He is an awesome follow. He's got lots of funny takes on there, and you can catch his work on Pop TV every Thursday night. Check it out. If you haven't been paying attention to Impact Wrestling, you're missing out. This broken Matt Hardy stuff has taken over wrestling, and it's a phenomenal thing to see happen, and you can see it every Thursday on Pop TV. Shane, anything else we can help promote or plug or give a shout-out to for you?
No, man, everything that I plug, I'll be putting it up on there. So if they follow me, they'll see it. Just remember to vote Rick for president. It's a much better choice than what we got going on now. You'll get my vote. I don't care what his platform is. So.
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to count on it. I love you, buddy.
I need a cabinet position.
You got it.
Okay.
Hey, listen now. My best to your beautiful family. Okay.
You too, buddy. You too.
Thanks for the time. Thanks, man.
Stay in touch, and don't forget to send me a picture of some memory. Keep on doing that. I love them.
Yeah, you bet, champ. You bet. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So doing something a little different today, switching it up, and I like it, man. Hurricane, if you haven't been following him on Twitter, you need to. I've had the pleasure of meeting him a few times now at the NWA Legends Fan Fest, where he's kind of been the MC. He's hilarious. He knows how to carry a conversation and tell a story, and some of his not-for-air Ric Flair stories are some of the most hilarious Flair stories I've ever heard.
Yeah, he knows them all. Sorry. That really wasn't me. You know that, right?
I do know that, but I also know that coming up, we've got This Week in History. We'll be right back on The Ric Flair Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have one more job to do. That's to help decide what kind of match Randy Orton and Ric Flair will have right now. There are three choices. Here in Milwaukee, do you want to see a Falls Count Anywhere match? Do you want to see a submission match? Or would you like to see a steel cage match tonight? Wow. Without a doubt, live here in Milwaukee, they want a steel cage match. But let's see what the worldwide internet audience wanted. Here the results are right now. Blowout! Wow. It is absolutely unanimous. The worldwide internet, the live audience here in Milwaukee, will get to see Randy Orton and Ric Flair one-on-one inside of that steel cage coming down right now.
Once again, the dirtiest player in the game. He's so resourceful. We saw Snitsky do some serious damage with the chair earlier tonight. Whoa! RKO! Orton got the RKO out of nowhere. And Orton beats a nature boy. But by God, Randy Orton earned it.
Randy Orton.
Look at Orton, he's a bloody mess. Randy Orton has paid a supreme price to step inside the steel for the legendary Ric Flair. But tonight, thanks to the RKO, a bloody and battered Randy Orton is indeed the legend killer. My God. God, what a match. What a physical match. What a Taboo Tuesday. This has been one of the most memorable nights of my entire career. Being here doing this job. I'm going to tell you something, JR. I came in here tonight actually doubting this Taboo Tuesday thing, but man, the fans came through. This has been an unbelievable night. It's been fantastic.
All right, Rick, we talked about it a little earlier. It's Tuesday, October 19th, 2004 at the Bradley Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And this is the first time that Taboo Tuesday would be on pay-per-view. And now the fans get a chance to vote on the match stipulations. So the WWE would hand down the matches, but then we get to pick what we're doing. And at this time, you're in the main event. It's your last main event I know of in the WWE. Is that right?
Yes, I'd even forgotten about it until you brought it up, yeah.
So Orton at the time is doing his legend killer gimmick, and you challenge him and say that he's not really a legend killer unless he can beat you. So Randy at this time is the odd man out with Evolution, and you help screw him out of a title shot with Triple H. And so the options that the fans get to pick here at Taboo Tuesday are now Falls Count Anywhere, a submission match, and a cage match. Of course, cage match wins with 68%. And before the finish, when I watched this back this week, you go to climb out of the cage, and Orton pulls your trunks down, and they stay there for a bit until Hebner helps you out, which I found hilarious.
Yeah.
And the match gets bloody early on, only goes a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes or so, and then Randy wins with an RKO. And after the match, you guys would hug, he raises your hand, and then you would wrestle a rematch the very next night on Raw, and you earn a victory on that side. A couple questions I want to ask about this, Rick. What are your memories of this angle with Orton being kicked out of Evolution? And then what did you think of Taboo Tuesday as a concept?
Well, first of all, I have so much respect for Randy, and got to know him really well. Of course, I knew his father real well. But Randy is a phenomenal performer, and just to see him come along and blossom and become the man and the talent that he has become, it was an honor for me to be with him. He was great back then. I mean, he's better now, but he was great back then, and he treated me with a lot of respect. I'm sorry, Conrad. God. Anyway, yeah, it was fun. I just, to be involved, and at that point in my career, to be involved in any of that stuff was just a great honor for me, and I really enjoyed it. And I think the world of Randy Orton, and he's happily married now and all settled down, man. All the Cowboys are gone, man.
What, clarify just for the fans one time, Taboo Tuesday, the results, work or shoot?
Oh, shoot, I mean, the tabulations were real.
So
to my knowledge,
you didn't know you were doing a cage match until a few minutes before.
No.
Okay.
No. As a matter of fact, that was one of the funny things everybody was trying to figure out. So they just brought all the components with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is the way they operate anyway. They've always got something they can put up. If you ever you've been to the setups of you've come into the arena to watch the setup, and for the average fan that doesn't get to see what goes into putting that show together.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and it just seems to get bigger and better, all the time. I mean, they can do anything, whatever if they have, a couple hours advance notice, they can do anything. I mean, Vince, when they did that skit with me and Edge after the road rage thing that I got in trouble on, he shut down a highway. You saw that, right? You shut down a damn highway.
Yeah, I actually saw that highway this past weekend, and it's pretty funny to remember that's the famous Ric Flair road rage incident.
We got to get Edge on this show one of these days. He was great too, man. What a good guy, and he's all married and settled down with 2 babies now.
Well, we're going to talk about a little baby making on the other side. We're going to get to this week's voicemail of the week, but first, hashtag Ask Naitch. This question comes to us from @SeanADT on Twitter. We talked a little bit about TNA with Hurricane today. We've got a TNA question here. Were there any plans for Rick to win the TNA title? Did his TNA deal have a number of matches he had to work? Hashtag Ask Naitch.
There was never any plan for me to win the TNA title that I know of. And did my contract call for X number of days to work?
Yeah, as far as matches, yeah.
Yeah, I had to work 8 times.
8 times a year?
8 times, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, good deal. Well,
which was a sweet deal, but that isn't the reason I left, because of the money of my contract. I just couldn't be. It's better now, I understand, but when you leave the WWE and you go somewhere And yes, it was easy, and the money was easy, and it was fun, and I liked the people there. But the difference between the products and the way they do their house shows and autograph signs and that, it drove me crazy. And then they would say one thing and do another. And they owe me money, so that's another thing, which I'm never going to get. But, they just have, I think they were always in a position where they're, on a very limited budget, and that's, just caused problems for everybody. Checks were late all the time, and it just became more, even though as much fun as I was having, it became more tedious than they would call me on Wednesday to go to Louisiana to a town I've been advertised in on a Thursday. So, and I just one day just told Bruce, I know Bruce will tell you, I just said I can't do it. So anyway, but I had a good time, and I met a lot of nice people there.
And if this isn't our last show ever, on the other side of the break, this week's voicemail of the week.
Hey, this is CZ from the Belt Room. What will it take for me to get a 60-minute ride on Space Mountain?
All right, Rick, since it's something I thought we'd ever ask on the show, what does a girl have to do in 2016 to get a ride on Space Mountain?
Wow. Find me in a foreign country when I'm by myself.
I didn't think you'd give a real answer. That's hilarious. So she finds you in a foreign country. She's by herself. You're by yourself. She makes the approach to the nature boy, and she needs to say,
"Yeah, if everything is working for her, okay. Let's get that straight, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be or anybody like that, okay."
Oh my gosh. Let's get out of here before we get in trouble. You're on the campaign trail, man. We got to be careful what we're saying here. You better
but take that word out there. Just say it's not going to be. We don't need that going down.
Yeah, I mean, let's get your Tic Tacs together here, man.
Okay. You can bleep that, right?
Oh, sure. Let's get out of here and give some Twitter plugs to our friends. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at Ric Flair Show. We'd love to keep you abreast of all things Nature Boy, and especially about the Ric Flair Show. So give us a follow at Ric Flair Show. Of course, at MA Gateway. If you love Jim Crockett Promotions, you'll love the MidAtlanticGateway.com. They're helping us out with This Week in History every single week. At Jerome Fisher VO is normally our master of ceremonies. His son is getting married today, so he is not able to help us put together the show. So if we sound a little different today, it's because Jerome is away. We will sound back to normal next week. And, of course, at 1FMC, First Family Mortgage can help you keep more of your own money, and they can do that at 1FMC.com. NMLS number 65084, Equal Housing Lender. Rick, what do you got coming up this weekend, man? We're not doing an on-tour segment, but I know you are jet-setting and on the road Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
I'm at a signing tomorrow in Akron, Ohio, that I'm really looking forward to, and then I'm doing a wrestling show in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I'm very excited about that. Two great markets, and working with my friend Gilbert tomorrow, and then Friday a gig for Legacy Talent. So it's going to be a good weekend for me. And then I'm going to come back and watch the Falcons beat the San Diego Chargers.
So check him out, Akron and Harrisburg. He's coming your way this weekend, the 21st and 22nd. That's a Friday and Saturday. And then good luck to the Falcons this Sunday.
Yes, for sure.
Well, man, I appreciate you having me today. It was a nice treat to have Hurricane on the show with us.
That was fun.
Cool to catch up with him.
Do I need to do the opening for us?
I think we're good, man.
You think it's good like that?
I think it's good like that.
Okay, very cool, buddy. I love you, man.
You too, man.
Thank you.
See you, bud. Bye-bye.
The world of MLW Radio never stops.